Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, how you doing on this? It's rainy today, Carlo, on
Yeah,
this rainy Sunday today. How you doing, buddy?
yeah. It's. I'm feeling good, but it is a rainy day, so get the vitamin D out, folks. Chase it with some vitamin C, and hope all y'all feeling good. And if you're not, I hope you feel better. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We're still having fun. Got lots of good things to talk about. And boy, oh boy, are the Red Wings making things interesting. It's gonna be a fun one here to cover the last week and to get into some things that we want to get into with y'all. And yeah, it's gonna be a good one. How you feeling, man?
I did say that's a little rainy outside, but in my heart, it's sunshiny because the Red Wings
Love
last
that.
night beat the Boston Bruins 2-1. Obviously, we'll go a little in depth about all the games that happened this past week for a weekly update. And Carlo, with that being said, I mean, I'm kind of like on the edge and not like the Creed song, I'm 6 feet from the edge, but it's very interesting. And I'm sure a lot of you watchers, viewers that tuned into this episode saw the thumbnail, right? And we're going to be proposing to you guys, right? I mean, and even asking ourselves and creating the conversation of wild card to wild off season, So we're going to talk about what happens with this team if they do make the wild card in the playoffs. If they don't, what the off season could look like for the Red Wings. And can Detroit really survive this chaos, Carlo? I mean, you put it best on this thumbnail right here because it is a lot of chaos, and we saw that those stats of all the other teams that are chasing the second wild card spots, and we'll go in depth about that as well. I guess I'll start with this, Carlo. Is it more oh boy, what's the word I want to use here? Is it frustrating? Is it more challenging? Is it more intense this season right now where Detroit Red Wings fans and the team are sitting in the standings now versus last season? Let's start with that question.
Well, I think I think we're in a better position. Believe this or not, I think we're in a better position this season than we were last season. I think that when we look at this is the thing with this team was when they want to play and when they want to lock it down and they want to fundamentally play the game the right way, they can, and they show glimpses of that. But when you look at the way this standings, and this is kind of the part two, when you look at the standings and the way everything's kind of shaken out right now, they're 1.0. I mean, they got what do they got? 9 games left. They're 1.0.
Well, technically 3 now because the Rangers ended up being the San Jose Sharks
Okay.
last night.
I didn't know that. So I guess I don't know. I really don't know how to compare it to last season. It's I feel like it's kind of the same, and what I was going to go with and where I was going to end up saying is I feel like this is going to come down to the last game again. I really do. The last game, the last period, the last 2 minutes, it's really going to come down to that once again. So when you say that and you kind of come to that conclusion, it's like, well, I feel like you're looking at the same seasons. It's kind of the same type of situation. We can go back and talk about all the losses against teams that we should have been scheduled wins on, and we can do all that, but we're not going to because we're here now. It is what it is, and it's going to be right down to the last period, man. Right down to the last 20 seconds. If they pull the goalie, like it's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild, and I'm excited to get there, see what happens. But even if things don't work out, like obviously as a fan, you want them to make it and it's wild card and we're obviously rooting for them to do that. But if they don't, like, I think there's still there's just so much stuff that we can get into that even if we don't, there is still light at the end of the tunnel. I'm convinced of that. We've both been talking and sending screenshots back and forth of different roster constructions and different tinkerings, which we will get into. It's a super early thing to get into. We get it, but it's still fun to get into it, and it's fun to bring it to people's attention because they might not be looking at it this way and they may not be looking that far down the road. So, yeah, this is going to be nuts, man. Right down to the last wire, and there's going to be a lot of good things to cover and talk about to really see where we're going to be at this season, starting next season, and starting the season after that. So let's get into it.
Yeah, great transition there, Carlo. And before we actually jump into everything, talking about the games, the weekly recaps, and then the main topics of touching on next season, this current playoff run that we're chasing right now, and then even the season beyond that, why don't you go ahead and take a moment to hit that subscribe button if you are watching or listening to us on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button as well. That truly does help us out, as well as going over to Spotify, where you can also watch and listen to us. And then also on Apple's podcast, why don't you go ahead and hit that follow button and rate us 5 stars. Doing all those things, Carlo, are free, and it truly does help us out along the way on our journey to provide the viewers, watchers, listeners this great content that we truly believe that we're putting out, and we always love to hear your guys' feedback. We truly do appreciate it. We do view those. I know Carlo goes on there and replies to some of the people that reply. So, yeah, we're very engageful with you guys, so keep it coming. Let us know what you guys think about this episode and where the Red Wings sit currently. And don't forget to check out our merchandise as well. You can head over to j2sport.com and get some nice apparel like this hat. It's a little used and worn, but we do got some brand new ones here too that I can show off to you guys.
Clean and crisp.
Go ahead and check out that cool stuff. And Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into it. And to kick off the week, we're going to start with the Red Wings on the Monday going up against the Utah Hockey Club. Start off the week, even before this game, let's start with Emmett Finney, who does report over to Grand Rapids Griffins, and it's not even his first stint either. He actually joined the club last season and then actually decided, okay, let's go back to Kamloops. It's probably best, and he even admitted to in a interview when they announced that he was going back to Grand Rapids to help them finish the end of their season and play in the playoffs and hopefully clinch a Calder Trophy. He even admitted to himself that, he needed to gain some size. He needed to just get a little bit better and perform a little bit better. And because of his stint last season, that's going to help him moving forward. And he believes that. So I don't know if you want to touch on Emmett Finney real quick. I know we talked about him last episode, but good stuff from him.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually really fitting considering what we were saying about him last episode for him to make his way over to GR. It sounds like he's done in Kamloops, right? Like that was his last season there. Yeah. You know what? Let's go. Let's see what he's got. I mean, we pumped his tires big time last week, and he put up some really good individual numbers and really the paper shows that he can put up some really good individual efforts as well. So let's see what he can do for GR. GR clinched the playoffs last night. So let's give a quick clap to GR for doing that. That's awesome. And let's see what Emmett Finney can do and provide to that team as they go on a run here. I think he's going to do well, man. I think it's going to take a little bit to get his feet wet, of course, like it would for anybody. But I think once he gets going and finds his spot, understands what his role is, I think we're going to be pleased with what we find. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any expectations. Maybe Hockeytown West probably does, and they probably have a little more insider knowledge about what's going to happen with Emmett Finney, what the overall plan is for him, especially with, I believe that they probably have maybe a few more games left of this season. Their season isn't exactly as long as the NHL. I think they play in 71 or 72 games for their regular season. And going into the game against Utah, you did have Mrazek in net to start off this game, but he did have to come out due to an injury, less than 2 minutes to start the game.
Yeah.
And Alex Lyon comes in for replacement. Carlo, to me personally, this is a huge loss for this team personally. I think this is a loss for this team. I mean, we just went out and got this guy for the goaltending depth, and looking at this week as we go along, and previously before that, the Red Wings can use any kind of depth they can take. So is this a hurt to the Red Wings in your opinion?
You know what? I think it is because, and I'm saying that because we have two goalies right now that are north of 32. Right now, obviously Talbot's up there, but I'm pretty sure Lyon's isn't Lyon like 33 or 34? He's up there. Not putting a number on it, like there's still guys that can do some really unbelievable things. Look what Talbot's doing, right? He had a great game last night against Boston, and he looked awesome. We'll get into that, but I'm not trying to cut up the age by any means. It's just like I think the whole purpose of Steve going out and getting Peter Mrazek is to have that third goalie for the reason of a contingency. And you know what? He was playing good. Like he really was playing good. I feel like this team had a bit of a new goalie bump. They were playing decent. He goes down, and in such ugly fashion, man. The way he went down and the whole thing that happened there. Like I hope he's all right because it looked like he got absolutely rocked.
So, and I'm sorry to cut you off there because I actually didn't think it was as bad of a hit as it looked to me personally. I thought it was a little softer, but obviously the speed of the game, man, and you just never know what happens to a goalie because he could have tweaked something lower body even though he got hit upper, right? So you truly never know.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely not wrong. But the view I saw was right above. There must be a camera right above the net, bird's eye view of the net, and dude, it looked bad. Like he got kneed right in the cranium, and it was like he got cranked. It was not pretty. So
I'm not laughing because he got kneed in the head, but the way you said it, cranium, I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah,
good choice.
Yeah,
there,
good linguistics here. Good for the pod.
No, 100%. I definitely agree with you. I think that this is actually a huge loss. And yeah, Alex Lyon, he is 32, so you were correct on that. Yeah, 2 goaltenders north of 32, I believe. Even Peter Mrazek, he's around that age too. So yeah, you technically have 3, but it's not only that. The reason why you got him is because obviously you looked at Cam Talbot and you looked at Alex Lyon. You know, you needed them to be able to have more time in between to get that rest, so that way you can have these major saves like Cam Talbot made last night in the Boston Bruins game. We keep on jumping ahead, not trying to, but yeah, Carlo, jumping into this game, you know, Alex Lyon did what he needed to do. Once again, it was, to me personally, it was just a weird game overall. I mean, the Red Wings only had 14 shots on net, but they scored 5 goals. Utah had 19 shots on net. The Detroit Red Wings had 1 power play opportunity. They didn't score. Utah had 5. They only scored 1 time on their power play, and that was their first goal from Dylan Guenther, but you had Elmer Soderblom scoring, right? And he was on the top line. I believe he ended up getting injured this game too, and then he did end up coming back, but then they didn't play him again for the Boston Bruins game, which is kind of weird. So we're still waiting for a little more update on him, but going into the second, you had Marco Kasper making it 2-1. Then Austin Watson gets on the board. Alex DeBrincat as well for the empty netter. And Tyler Mott just had to seal the deal to make it 5-1 with the goalie back in. So overall, it was a good win. But Carlo, like I said, it was just a weird game. Lots of hits though. 58 total hits. Red Wings had 25 block shots. They had 32 of those hits.
Man, the block shots and the hits is what for me. That's kind of what won them the game. I mean, obviously they scored 5 goals, but like, dude, they were playing pretty sound as a unit, blocking 25, laying out 32 hits. That was really nice. And we don't really see that too consistently. So when you see it, it really stands out. I just wanted to call that out because those are both big numbers for both those categories. I think it won them.
100%. And then just wanted to give a shout out to Alex DeBrincat, who did pick up an assist on the Marco Kasper goal, which was his 14th of the season, who is absolutely killing it, mind you. On the third shot of the night, on net early in the second period, yes, the Red Wings only had, what was it, Carlo? Did I say that that was their third shot of the night in the first period? They only had 2 shots on net. And then the second, they only had 3 as well. And then the third, that's when they decided to pick it up a little bit from there. It truly didn't matter. But congratulations to Alex DeBrincat on getting his 500th career point. So claps to him. That's awesome.
Absolutely. He's having such a good season, man. Like, it's unreal. He's just been completely unlocked. He's just having such a great. I just wanted to take a minute to call that out because I think anybody would agree, fan or no fan of the team, like he is having a hell of a year.
Yeah, Carlo, no, it was a good win, and it was a big 2 points because obviously points are very much needed in the standings. It's very close, like we alluded to at the start of this episode. So moving along, the Red Wings in a back-to-back, and they're on a road trip, so they have to unfortunately go up against former Stanley Cup championship team not that long ago, and one of the top teams in the Western Conference, the Colorado Avalanche, losing 5-2 on Tuesday. But before this, Carlo, you actually did have Sebastian Cossa called up on emergency loan. So he did actually, I don't even think was he on the bench, Carlo, for the game?
I believe he was backing up. Yep.
Because they did have Lyon and net. And they just ended up keeping Lyon in that game. Unfortunately, I kind of felt bad for him, but yeah.
There's no way they were putting Cossa in that game, brother. No chance.
Right. So, but congratulations to Cossa. He probably got paid a little bit more for flying all the way out to Colorado and sitting on the bench. So, but then obviously the next day he did have to get sent down to Grand Rapids Griffins on Wednesday. So just kind of moving forward a little bit with that. But yeah, the Avs, they won 5-2. Comfer and Watson were the only goal scorers. So congratulations to Comfer for at least scoring against his former team. And Austin Watson, back-to-back games, goal scorer. That's awesome. Glad to see that he's actually picking up points. And Carlo, I mean, we're going to talk about him moving along too, because in last night's game, he was very much alive in that game as well. But Wings had the lead from Comfer on the power play for only 44 seconds until McCarr tied it up, and it was all downhill from there. I mean, this was just, it's just one of those situations. It's one of those scheduled losses. I mean, it's not really an excuse to give, but I mean, an excuse to give would be it's their second game, right, against the top West team, one of them at least, right? So I don't know if you want to touch on this game or not, but that's all I got for this one, buddy.
For me, this was not a bad Detroit Red Wings game. They did not play bad. They just got Colorado avalanched. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, we're talking about a team that is extremely deep. They went and did some things at the deadline and got better. They got deeper. They got bigger. They got stronger. You look at everything about this game, they contributed in every single area that they needed to contribute to. They just can't hang with the Colorado Avalanche on a back-to-back and the back half of that. So is the outcome different if it's on the the first half of a back-to-back? Maybe. Who knows? I mean, they played well. They seem to have a good structure going up against this team. Did they have their legs with them the whole night? Who knows? We don't know. But you look at the numbers, you look at all the underlying things, the eye test even, like they did not play a bad game. I got to just give them credit because I think that's due.
Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, like I said, it was just one of those games. I mean, you look at the shots, 23-28. The Red Wings were 50% on their power play. Avs were 100, 2 for 2, right? So it's really tough to even beat that. So you out hit them, which is great. You want the Red Wings to keep doing that. They continued that momentum this week, Carlo, and I think that's probably something that we should make mention is that the Red Wings, they're definitely in playoff mode right now. Right, and that's very clear. I mean, the heads every single game, it seems like it's definitely 25 plus. And if you look back even earlier this month, it definitely wasn't anything like that. And the Red Wings couldn't even make it to where they could win 2 games in a week this month, right? The Red Wings are having a horrible month of March. It's just completely unbelievable how the Red Wings continue to play out in March, right? But I think you said it really well. I think the Red Wings did not really look that much out of place. It's just really unfortunate that it had to be the Colorado Avalanche on the second half of the back-to-back. So, moving along, like we said, Kosa was sent back down to Grand Rapids Griffins on Wednesday, and then moving along to the Wings versus Senators game on Thursday, which I had the pleasure or unfortunate pleasure of going to. That game, Carlo, I mean, it was a very rough game to start. I mean, overall, I really don't know where to start. I mean, you could talk about the shots on that. Red Wings had double their shots, 16-8.
Yep.
I think within the first, I think there was 3 power plays. Maybe it was 4 power play opportunities the Red Wings had. Overall, they had 6 in this game. They only scored once on their power play.
That killed them.
There were plenty of times where the refs should have made calls. They didn't, but you can't place blame on the refs. That's just part of the game. Right, Edmondson and Kachuk dropped the gloves. Lyon had to be pulled on in the second to bring in Talbot when you're down 3-0. Like I said, in the second, you come back and making it a close game. But yeah, the Red Wings end up losing 4-3. Your goal scorers are Patrick Kane, Lucas Raymond, and Vladimir Tarasenko. And once again, you had David Perron scoring against the Detroit Red Wings. And that doesn't really hurt. It just hurts that the Red Wings lost this game. I would have loved to at least gotten a point out of this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered really for the Sens to lose this game. And I think that's also another reason why I'm kind of upset. They probably should have just let us win it so both of us can make the playoffs. But they don't like us. I don't blame them. I don't like them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like they don't like us more, man, because when that team comes out and plays against Detroit, whether it's at home or if Detroit's in Ottawa, they run the Red Wings show physically. They do. And you know what? Until the Red Wings can decide that they're going to start running the show, I mean, that's just the way it is, I suppose. I will give them credit for that third period, stifle where they kind of figured out, okay, let's go out there and tie this game. And they almost did, man. Like, they put out a good effort in that third period, but you don't win a hockey game in 20 minutes. And McClellan always talks about it's the race to 3. They let Ottawa get to 3 within 2 periods. I mean, to put yourself in that position, it's just, you can't do that. And they need to start deciding what kind of team they're going to be consistently. Kind of ties back to the identity of this team. But I will say, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I got nothing really more to say about the Ottawa game. But you want to talk about identity, you want to talk about what team are we going to be tonight, Boston game.
100%. Yeah, just quickly recapping on this game. I mean, you got to give credit to Linus Ullmark. I mean, it's 6 power plays, right? The Red Wings had that opportunity. Linus Ullmark, once again, showcasing that he was a former Vezina winner, right? Or at least candidate multiple times. So Linus Ullmark, just incredible. And that trade for the Ottawa Senators, I think it's easy to say that is one of the reasons why the Ottawa Senators can make the playoffs this season, right, Carlo?
Yes.
So maybe Steve should take a page out of that book. We'll see. But in other news, also on that Thursday night, Trey Augustine and MSU were knocked out of the NCAA men's hockey tournament, Carlo. We have not heard any word yet. I know some MSU players have been signing contracts and going to play for their clubs, affiliate teams, or maybe any for their NHL teams, but no word on Trey Augustine yet. I would assume we should be expecting something here pretty soon. I'm sure maybe they just wanted him to get a couple days rest, just think over things, but that's the next step, right? I think it's signing the contract and going over to Toledo or Grand Rapids, right? I mean, could we possibly see a chance that he just goes over to Toledo, or does he just not come over at all? Thoughts on that real quick.
I don't know, man. I mean, a guy like that, I can understand going to Toledo, but I'm curious about Grand Rapids, to be honest with you. I mean, this is more of a question for the West guys to see what they think makes the most sense in terms of what lineup he should be in. But, I mean, we all know Trey Augustine is a special talent when it comes to stopping rubber. I don't know if it's egregious to say throw him in GR with Kosa now because of the playoff run. I don't know. I mean, you got to remember, Trey's been playing meaningful hockey. He just was in the playoffs. Why not keep that going at a higher level? I mean, I don't know. Can it hurt him? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
The thing is, it's that, first things first. This obviously is a better question to ask someone like Hockeytown West podcast, right? Because they are more familiar with those two clubs than we are, right? Based on what we do know, or at least what I know, I'm not going to speak for you, Carlo, obviously. Both Toledo and Grand Rapids, I feel like they already have 3 goaltenders each. So what do you do with the Kosa or Trey Augustine, right? So
good problem to have,
going in depth about next season, we would assume that that's the move, right? It's that he's making that jump. He's leaving MSU, but what's the move now? We're just going to have to wait and see. I'm sure maybe by Monday we know a little bit more, right? So if you want to know, go harass the Hockeytown West boys on Twitter or any of their social medias, wherever you can find them. So
go bug those guys.
There was no news for the Red Wings on Friday. So let's talk about the game against the Boston Bruins, which was last night, where the Detroit Red Wings did win 2-1 in a very stellar fashion. Personally, to me, I thought it was a very fantastic win. You had Marco Kasper just receiving the puck from a Boston Bruins player at the center ice logo. I don't know who gave up that puck, but I'm sure Jeremy Swayman wants that goal back because it did end up hitting his glove and just going in. But credit to Marco Kasper for being in that spot, playing the center role. Now that he's off that top line, still contributing to this team with points, not just a two-way game, but just even want to call that out. The announcers were very, very much impressed with Marco Kasper's two-way game last night. They called that out many times last night. Moving along with that, you also had Lucas Raymond getting a power play goal for his 26th of the season. And I believe that they actually announced that was his 35th power play point this season. So that's huge for Lucas Raymond, and that just proves that the Red Wings have a really good power play system right now, thanks to Alex Tanguay. And then Morgan Geekie had to follow up with a power play goal shortly, not too long after that. And that's the game kept it 2-1, Carlo. But I want you to go in depth about this game because you did slightly talk about it on the last one, but you made it a really clear point that the Red Wings want to stay consistent and have an identity. It was in this game. So why don't you go ahead and go in depth about what you saw that would showcase that about this team.
Well, 38 hits. 38 hits in this game by the Detroit Red Wings. And it really seems that honestly, dude, it seems like since Austin Watson's been up, that's where the identity is starting to come through. Because the consistent thing that's been happening since he's been on this team is they're hitting, man. Like, they are finishing and they're hitting.
Yeah, you had Austin Watson. This is the second fight, so I guess I should say this. It's back-to-back fights, essentially. Abs to Brinkat versus Peak, and then Watson versus Leuco, I think is how you pronounce it. So, yeah, Leuco, Austin Watson, he's bringing the fisticuffs, and that's exactly, we've said it for multiple years. The Red Wings needed someone like this guy in a lineup to bring some energy and some juice to this lineup.
Yeah, and he's doing just that, man. You know, I said it earlier to a buddy of mine today, where it's Austin Watson seems like such a big upgrade from Christian Fischer because A, he's scoring, but B, he will drop the gloves and very likely drop you. He is a tough son of a gun, and that
guy yesterday too.
He suplexed him, and I think that's why he got that misconduct, because he dude, that was like a WWE move, man. That was wild, and that could have been ugly. So I think the misconduct was warranted for that. But nonetheless, he came back. I don't think he played much in the third period. I think the Todd Father just kind of shortened the bench to keep things tight, which exactly was needed, obviously, the way that game turned out. But this team's hitting, man. Like, they're hitting consistently, and they're hitting in high numbers. Did you know that Albert Johansson had 7 hits last night? Team leading 7 hits. I did not have that on my bingo card. Not even
with only 16 minutes time on ice too.
Yeah. Like so he's playing pretty tenacious, which is exactly the way you need to play right now to play meaningful hockey and to make the most out of every single game you have left, because they're running out very quick.
Even Michael Rasmussen had 7 hits too, so tying up with that, and then even looking at Jonathan Berggren had 4, Craig Smith had 4 hits as well. Everyone was kind of out there laying the hits, which was pretty nice to see, Carlos. So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at a division. I mean, that's the Boston Bruins identity. That's the Ottawa Senators identity. I'm sure that's probably – I'm not going to say that that's the Boston Bruins, but you look at the Florida Panthers too. Very chippy teams, right? Yeah. And so if the Red Wings want to – I'm not saying that you have to match the persona of what these other teams are, but if you want to have somewhat of an identity, yeah. And that was missing for a lot of this year. I just kind of want to lay that out there. And it's pretty interesting to see them finally doing that towards the end of the season. Obviously, you have to, for obvious reasons, trying to make that push to the playoffs. But that gets me very excited for what can a Tom McClellan system do for this team next season to fully implement it, right? And could we possibly see that where that's the identity they tried to build for this Red Wings team? Because we could probably honestly say, since Steve Yzermans come in, this team never really had an identity, and I don't really think that that's on him. That's really on no one. Personally, to me, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I don't think it's on Steve to tell. I don't think it's on Steve at all to have a team form an identity. That's on the team, man. Like you're a band of brothers. Like, you guys need to figure out what kind of team you're going to be. You know, that's on the leadership within the room. In terms of, you know, what kind of team you are. It's just funny to me that Austin Watson comes in and now you have a chippy Detroit Red Wings team, and it's not just happening from Watson. It's happening from some Johansson 7 hits, Rasmussen 7 hits. Like, again, I the way Rasmussen's been playing all year, I would not have had that on my bingo card at all, especially Johansson.
Yeah, so is it just the Austin Watson effect? Can we just make that into a phrase at this point? Because partially the reason, I want to be careful the way I say this, so I'm going to be careful.
Okay.
Part of the reason why I think they went out and got Austin Watson was not because of, obviously, he could play physical, he could drop the gloves, you know, he plays a really good game, he's had NHL experience, and he could teach young guys, but yeah, he did that for Soderblom, right? He went up to Soderblom, taught him the ropes on how to play his body and be physical and be that type of player, right? And so is it the Austin Watson effect that not only was he able to put that in Grand Rapids for the young guys, but now he's doing it for the big club too, Carlo? Is it the Austin Watson effect?
Yeah, it could be, man. I mean, like, listen, a guy like that's going to command some attention just because of who he is, kind of his rap sheet and all that stuff. But, you know, he seems to be a pretty big glue guy too. He seems to have a similar vibe to Fischer in terms of being that glue guy that we've always talked about. hyping people up, getting excited, showing that raw emotion. He really seems to do that. But on the flip side, he can also score goals, which he's been doing, and he can drop you in whenever he wants. Like he's a very tough guy. So he's kind of the whole package when it comes to the bottom six. He's like a full package bottom six player. That's also making guys around him maybe a little more confident. Maybe these guys are throwing their weight around a little bit more because they know Waddy's here. Like it's funny how things work out. That could be the case too. Maybe it's indirect. You're talking about things being, more direct with kind of one-on-one sessions with Soderblom, and maybe he's doing that with others. He could be, but it could also just be an indirect thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna play a little looser. I'm gonna play a little more aggressive because Waddy's here. You know what I mean? Like it could be something like that too. But I'll take it, man. These guys are throwing hits like crazy. It sucks that an identity is starting to form now with 9 games left, but at least there's an identity now. So, and you asked me a question at the beginning of the pod about similarities between this season and last season. And yep. I don't think we had this type of identity last season. And this is the type of identity you need to outmuscle teams, outwork teams, and possibly squeak out that extra point that could get you in to the wild card spot. So I just wanted to refer back to that question because as I was kind of talking through this and thinking about where this conversation's going, I actually do think, considering everything we've just said, I think they got a better chance this year than they did last year because of the identity.
So too, which is actually pretty ironic that we say that because the story that we built upon this team at the beginning of the season based on who we brought in and who we shipped out, we weren't going to be anywhere near that. Right. But you look at now how some of the other teams are doing too. I just kind of find that ironic. Do you agree with me on that, yeah. Carlo? Or
yes.
I'm quite surprised that we're actually in the spot right now. So I want to give credit to the players, the coaching staff, and kind of everyone all around, So it's not just one person. It's a team effort with this. Right. And so we should be thankful that we're actually receiving meaningful hockey, right? And I know that everyone wants to be, we should be in a playoff spot right now, but the attention that the Detroit Red Wings are receiving, especially not from this year, but even last season, right? It's great for this team to get exposed and get newer faces to enjoy this organization, this team, and the sport in general. And so the Red Wings are doing exactly that, Carlo. The league does better when the Red Wings are better. And they're doing that. But I do want to make it a point, too. The last time that the Red Wings won 2 games in 1 week was at the end of February. So it took them a whole entire month to string 2 wins in the same week, which is pretty brutal. And you said there's only 9 games left. Some of the other teams, they have 10 games left. So it's super tight, bro. I mean, we should be very thankful that we're in a situation like this. I mean, we could be the Buffalo Sabres, honestly, buddy. So
listen, it can always be worse, man. It can always be worse, but we are right into the thick of it. Obviously that's happening because of the way this team is going about their business right now. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But if they can keep formulating this identity and they can keep making it stronger and better, they're going to give themselves a good chance. And I still think it's going to come down to the last game, the last period, the last couple of minutes, for sure. But we got to look around too because Detroit's only in this mix right now. We talk about what they've been doing, but you got to talk about the rest of the league and the rest of that conference. They've been doing us some big favors just by way of losing, tying games, whatever. It's a really thick, muddy mix right now. And we're talking about inches here. The point structure, just go look at the standings. It's nuts. So I just want to say thanks to the other teams too for maybe not winning and keeping us alive and keeping us above water a bit here.
Good transition here, buddy, because we're actually about to share the standings with everyone here. For those who can see this, we are showing the standings. If you are just viewing, obviously, we'll read it off to you. But yeah, in the wild card 1 spot, you had the Ottawa Senators at 83 points, followed up by the New York Rangers, who did beat the San Jose Sharks. They pummeled them. I think it was like 5 or 6-1. The New York Rangers now have 77 points. With the Montreal Canadiens, just 2 points behind them with 75. Columbus tied with them at 75. The Islanders at 74. And then the Red Wings, we are tied with the Islanders at 74 points. So, Carlo, once again, we're only 3 points back. However, we would need the 4 points and all the other teams to lose in order to regain that second wildcard spot that we had at one point in time, right?
Yeah.
By no means do I expect this team to try and make a run for that first wildcard spot. And I think that is solely possessed
Yeah.
by the Ottawa
Yeah.
Senators, unless for some forsaken reason the Tampa Bay Lightning just go down the gutter, right? So this is very interesting, Carlo. I mean, with 9 games left, I mean, New York, they only have 8, but every other team, they still have 10 left. So at this point, Carlo, there's a couple of things that we could do here. And we said it in our text messages last night. So we created some good banter, and we're going to try and recreate it here for all the viewers, watchers, and listeners with us today. Is that, you know, Carlo, to me personally, I mean, the Red Wings have to do their best to win out the rest of their 9 games, right? Realistically, you look at it, though, and I'll go ahead and actually stop sharing, and I'll start sharing the remaining schedule for the Red Wings. I mean, you have the St. Louis Blues on Tuesday upcoming. Then you have the Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Montreal, Panthers again, Tampa Bay Lightning, Dallas Stars, New Jersey Devils, Toronto Maple Leafs to finish out. And Carlo, for me, I do think that it is realistic for this team to go 7-2. I think it is possible, but more realistically, it's probably going to be more the 5-4 or 6-3. But I'm looking at this, right, and I see teams like Carolina. I kind of wish that was more at the tail end. Then you have the Panthers 2 times, but I'm looking at it. It goes Panthers on the 10th, Tampa Bay on the 11th, Dallas on the 14th, Devils on the 16th, then the Toronto Maple Leafs on the 17th. Personally, to me, Carlo, I think the Red Wings are kind of lucky to be facing off teams that are in prime playoff spots. And the Red Wings could benefit from that, from them sitting some of their more key players. Your thoughts on basically everything I said, or what you think the projection outlook is going to be for this team, if they can make the playoffs or not? It's a wild, wild west out here, man, for the wild card spot.
It really is. So the first thing I look at are the home games. Like, we only have 3 games at home in April.
Yep.
Now, take away the team from that and just understand the fact that they're playing at home. They need to win these games at home because those are against very good teams, like very good teams that are well secured into the postseason. They need to come out to these games at home. Now, what's one thing that each game at home has in common? They have a day off before. They need to come out, start strong, and more importantly, they need to play a complete 60-minute game in front of their home fans. They have to do that. At home, a day off before, to me, eliminates all the excuses in the world. If you decide you want to be a playoff team, if you made the decision that you want to be a wild card team, I don't care what team is coming into your building. If you're at home in April and you have a day off the day before, you need to win those games. That is going to be very important to keep an eye on to determine if this team has decided within the group, within the room, that they're going to play in postseason hockey. So I'll start with those. So that's 3. Let's call those 3 wins, even though, there's no way they're going to beat Dallas. There's no way they're going to beat Florida. Just follow me here. There's 3 wins. St. Louis Blues, bit of a heater right now. On the road. Can they win that game? Couple days off. Today, tomorrow off. Coming off a big win big win against Boston. That would be a sneaky dub to come out and win against St. Louis. In fact, I have them penciled in my own little book here that they're going to beat St. Louis. So now we're at 4 wins. They got 9 games here. In order to get above 500, they need to win 1 more. They got Montreal. That's a big game because of the standings. I think that's a win. If they can split between Florida and Tampa, that's massive. Now we're at 6. And then you have New Jersey, Toronto. I don't know. I still don't know what to say about that. Can they go 6-3? I think they absolutely can go 6-3. If they decide, and here's the asterisk, that they want to play playoff hockey. Their identity continues. Their hits continue. Their scoring needs to be very much present. And the most important thing for me is they need to play second period hockey. I don't know if you guys caught this. Zach, I don't know if you caught this or anybody else, but second period, 5 minutes left. the ESPN broadcast kind of shot a video up of Stevie Y, and he just started shaking his head. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder what that was about. Now, could have been nothing. Could have been somebody saying something that was next to him that wasn't in the frame, and he just was shaking his head and saying no or whatever. Or it was the fact that his team was just getting outworked in the second period again. And I kind of think it was that. So in order for this team to actually go 6-3, they got to win at home. They got to take advantage of the games where they have a day off and make sure that the game they're playing, I mean, they got 2 back-to-backs here. Florida, Tampa, New Jersey, Toronto. They need to beat Florida. I'm fine with a loss against Tampa. They need to beat New Jersey. I'm fine with a loss against Toronto. As long as they come out and win those games, those first games on the first half of a back-to-back, they win their games at home, they could very well go 6-3, Zach. And is it enough? Then we get into the conversation of, is it enough? And unfortunately, we don't know, because it's going to really depend on the remaining teams that are in the mix as well. And that's, that part kind of sucks, because I don't think the Red Wings have the ability to write their own fate. I think they can to a degree, but I think a lot of it's going to come with the help of some other teams in the standings. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just really wanted to pull this up real quick, and this is on Tankathon. This is the hardest remaining schedule for NHL clubs, and the Detroit Red Wings are still at number 1, Carlo, with 9 games remaining. But looking back at the standings when we did have them up, right? I mean, it's very close between teams like the New York Islanders, Columbus Blue Jackets, Montreal Canadiens, and the New York Rangers. So looking at some of those teams, I mean, New York, they also have a really tough schedule with 8 games left, right? So they're at number 4. New York Islanders, number 6. Columbus Blue Jackets at number 8. Montreal is the only other one that has a pretty easy schedule at number 25, but
it's going to take some dog, man. It's going to take some dogs to come out to make this happen.
So looking at like a team like the New York Islanders, here's their remaining schedule. They got Tampa Bay, they got Minnesota, the Caps, Preds, Rangers.
No back-to-backs?
No back-to-backs,
Holy.
but they have to play against, key teams too. Like they have to go up against the Rangers. Their last game is against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That could.
They do have a back-to-back. They have a back-to-back. Philly and Philly and New Jersey.
Philly and Rangers, or Philly and Devils, on the 12th and the 13th. So they do have back-to-back away games there, so that could help us out. And once again, I mean, they have to play against the top metropolitan team in the Washington Capitals, and then finish off with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the New York Islanders and the Columbus Blue Jackets, that could come down to the wire, much like how it did for us last year. I blame John Tortorella still to this day.
The Columbus Blue Jackets, the new Washington Capitals for the Detroit Red Wings this season. That becomes the question.
They very well could be, Carlo. I mean, let's take a look at their schedule, too. I mean, they have a couple back-to-backs. Actually, they have 2 back-to-backs. They have one on April 5th and the 6th, which are against the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. They do not have an easy schedule, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, they go against the Preds on the 1st, then the Avs, then the Maple Leafs, then the Sens back-to-back, then the Sens again on the 8th, then the Sabres, then the Caps, and back-to-back on the 12th and the 13th. Then the Flyers, and then finishing off, like we mentioned, against the Islanders on the 17th. And then looking at Montreal, you got the Panthers, you got the Bruins, the Flyers, and then back-to-back against the Preds. Yeah. Then us on the 8th, Tuesday, so that's a huge game, Carlo, like we mentioned. Then you play against the Sens, and then back-to-back against the Toronto Maple Leafs on the 11th and 12th. Then they get an easy one against the Blackhawks, and then finishing off their season against the Canes.
A lot of home games, though, man. That arena is electric. So I mean, listen, that's enough. The momentum swings in that alone. But I'm really curious about this one, though. The Rangers.
Yep, and then the Rangers, their next game will be on Wednesday, the 2nd, against the Wild. Then they follow up with the New Jersey Devils on the 5th. That Saturday. Then the Tampa Bay Lightning, back-to-back games against the Flyers and the New York Islanders on the 9th and 10th. Then they play against the Canes, the Panthers, and then they finish off against the Tampa Bay Lightning on the 17th. Carlos, so, I mean, the ESPN
coming down to the Rangers and the Blue Jackets. Rangers and Blue Jackets is coming down to.
all these teams, they all have a losing record in their last 10 games played.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the continuing theme with all these teams? I hope to God that is not the case, because I cannot have another situation like it was last season where we're down to the wire last game, where it comes down to like, okay, we have to win this OT, but we need this other team to do this. That is just so nerve-wracking, and I don't think fans can stomach another season like that. But let's say it did play out that way. Can we say that these last 2 years that the Red Wings technically should have been a playoff team, and they could have been, but because of regulation wins and these weird rules that they claim, the claim is that they're not. So for me, I guess you can say, but you got to go back and look at all the other games. Steve could have pulled the loan 2 weeks prior, and we could have gotten that extra win. That could have made us that wild card team. So your thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, that's an interesting take. You're not entirely wrong. Like, the only thing I was going to say is, like, teams that are playoff teams because they control their fate. Those are playoff teams. They control their fate. They depend on nobody else. They depend on nobody else winning. They depend on nobody else losing. They just depend on themselves, and they carve their way into the playoffs all alone. That's a playoff team for me. When it comes to this wild card spot, it's really, I don't feel like any wild card team. Ottawa is one of them, because they've just built such a large delta in that wild card one position. So there are some wild card one positions that, yes, you are a playoff team because you've earned it 100%. You did it on your own. But those wild card two spots, man, are they playoff teams? I mean, Washington snuck in last season. They got swept and they were out. They're not a playoff team. I know. No. I get it. Listen, I would love to follow that pathway. Don't get me wrong. But my point is these wild card two teams that just sneak in ultimately don't have any business being in the playoffs. I just don't think they do, man. Like, I'm not trying to be a downer, but like, history.
I mean,
man,
it's once in a huge while you see that, Carlo. I mean, we've seen it with LA Kings in the past, but we saw it, I think most recently, I could say, was probably the St. Louis Blues when they went on that wild streak, man, where they were dead last in the league and they ended up winning the whole shebang. So sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, but they didn't sneak in wild card two, though, right?
Right. So I don't know what spot actually they fell in, to be honest with you, but that's the closest one that I can at least compare it to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they clinched. Like, they were the best team in the league from January 1st, and they played good hockey in March. So there's a bit of a difference between that team and the Red Wings. Because yes, the Red Wings were a very hot team to the start of 2025. They really, really were. Can't take that away from them. It's just they fell apart in March. But we're not going to beat that drum, and we've done it enough. Detroit needs to do some things that are going to blow people's minds in April. And that means beating teams that everyone has as scheduled losses. If Detroit can come out and win some way, somehow, and earn and prove like we've decided we're a playoff team, then I'll be excited should they make the playoffs. I'll actually be excited, and I will look to go and support and be there. But if they squeak in because somebody else lost or whatever, I'm expecting them to get blown out, man, because it's just they're not there yet. They're really just not there yet in terms of hanging with these teams. However, this could change. Like I just said, if they go and earn it and they play a crazy game in April with an identity that's rock solid and they go and earn themselves a spot, look out. Don't let the Red Wings get hot. That's it. That's literally it.
Interesting question for you. This just kind of randomly popped in my head, and I'm curious to hear from the viewers and watchers as well. Let us know your thoughts and comments down below. But Carlo, do you think if the Red Wings don't make the playoffs, clearly the Suns are going to, unless something crazy happens?
It's possible.
Is it technically? Would you put blame on Steve Yzerman? Do you think it's fair to put blame on Steve Yzerman for not being more aggressive at the trade deadline like the Ottawa Senators did and getting players like Dylan Cozens? 9 points in 11 games played for the Sens, and since he's been acquired, they have gone 8-3 in their last 11 games, Carlo. So I'm not going to put that all on Dylan Cozens. Obviously, they've also went out and got some other players, but re-asking the question again, can you put blame on Steve Yzerman if the Red Wings don't make it And then you look at a team like the Ottawa Senators, who did do something at the trade deadline to help make that push for the playoffs.
Well, the Ottawa Senators right now are playing with an identity, and they have been playing with an identity for a while. And they have a great goaltender. I don't think their GM deserves GM of the year because they went and did some things at free agency. I think the Senators as a group and as a unit, as a brotherhood in that room, they've created an identity that they truly are bought into, and that's playing rock'em sock'em hockey. I'm going to call it Kachuk hockey because you see the Florida Panthers do it, and now you're seeing Ottawa do it. What do those two teams have in common? Love them or hate them, the Kachuk brothers. They are playing Kachuk hockey, and that's the type of identity you wish your team had, man, because they're just playing really, really good, and they roll teams. They come out swinging. Now, to answer your question, no, this is my unpopular answer because I can already hear people bashing Yzerman and calling for his head. No, I'm not going to put this on Yzerman. You got to keep in mind, this Detroit Red Wings team, snapped off 2 7-game heaters. They showed Steve, hey, like we can play. Like we just broke off 2 7-game heaters. Can Steve avoid March from happening by doing anything at the deadline? Possibly. But at what cost? And you got to kind of like highlight that question of, at what cost? What are you comfortable giving up in order to get players, and what players is it that you want to get? Because you got to then, once you understand and identify the players that you think would be able to help this team from the deadline, what's it going to cost? And I'll tell you right now what it's going to cost, at least what I think it's going to cost, is players and picks and prospects that none of us want to part with.
Yeah, and kind of, and let's transition this a little bit. So it's still I'm going to try and compare it a little bit, right? So Dylan Cozens, center, right? And Red Wings fans, we said it even too, Carlo. We probably would like to have a Dylan Cozens on this team, but I asked you last night in a text message, Steve needs to figure out what he wants to do with Marco Kasper. Yeah, you drafted him to be the center of this, to center this team, right? Whether that's 2C, 3C, wherever you could view him, right?
Yeah.
We saw what he did on the top line with Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin, and he looked really good on the wing, Carlo. So Steve Yzerman probably already has this in his mind, and this isn't me trying to think that Steve Yzerman is trying to create a 3D chess situation, right? He probably already has the answer. But I asked you, Carlo, and I said this to you, Steve really needs to figure out what he wants to do with Marco Kasper, but the answer was probably already there that he sees Marco Kasper as a center, and that's probably why he didn't make moves quite like the Ottawa Senators did. And the Ottawa Senators, their center situation is a lot different than ours. While, yeah, we got Kopp and Comfer, players that Red Wings fans mostly don't want, right? But they had injured centers that they needed to severely upgrade. So it's a little different situation than us, but we keep talking about how we really need to upgrade this defense. So I really can't justify why Steve didn't upgrade the defense at all.
I think it would have costed too much, man. I really do.
And that's what it all comes down to. But then even looking at the Dylan Cozens trade, it really didn't cost them that much. So I guess I'm kind of putting myself in a rabbit hole here.
Well,
but
hang on though. Who did they trade though? They traded somebody, Josh Norris, to get Cozens. We don't have a guy like Josh Norris and if we did, we aren't trading him because we don't have another one. You know, we don't have another one down the lineup. Like, and this is what my whole rant about, and people can say whatever they want. I don't care. When Ken Holland missed in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, when he missed on those drafts, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The players like Josh Norris, we don't have them. We have no desirable players at the age of Josh Norris, because if we did, Kenny Holland would have drafted him in 2015, 16, 17, or 18. He didn't do that. They're not even in the NHL, except for Rasmussen, who's a bottom sixer at best. Therefore, we don't have desirable players of the age that is coveted by teams to make a deal, to go and get a stud D-man, to go and get a stud top sixer like Dylan. We just are incapable of making that move without giving up players and picks and prospects that, again, none of us would be down to give up. You want to talk about Steve getting fired? Do something like that. He's gone. Giving up futures, giving up players that have established themselves as rock stars in Detroit, those are the types of players that we can give up that we can't afford to give up because we don't have the next one coming yet. Steve is still drafting technically. So, yeah, I mean, it costed them Josh Norris. It'd be nice if we had a guy like Josh Norris that we can go and trade. We just don't have him.
Just to be clear, I want to make this aware too for people that we may have ruffled up some feathers, that this may be a touchy subject for those that maybe wanted to see Steve go out and make a trade like this. Well, you could say, maybe some people are saying, well, you could have thrown Andrew Kopp out there or JT Comfort. That's equivalent to Josh Norris. Well, no, because both Andrew Kopp and
Comfort.
JT Comfort are older, and both actually aren't producing as much as Josh Norris, and Josh Norris has injury history, Carlos. So you're exactly right. We don't have that, and that probably would have included Marco Kasper. And so are you really going to sacrifice Marco Kasper? And that's why I wanted to tie Marco Kasper in, is that Steve views Marco Kasper as the future 2C of this team moving forward. If it's not him, then it's probably going to be Nate Danielson, right? And that's what it's going to look like. And I know you probably have differentiating ideas on the whole Nate Danielson thing, but that's what Steve Yzerman went out and did, and that's his view moving forward. That is his path for this club moving forward, Carlo.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, dude. I really do. I think Kasper stays 2C. I feel like Kasper just plays with more of an edge than Danielson, but I feel like you can interchange that. That's the other thing that's really exciting is, you look at the players that are on this team right now, and the Steve Yzerman players that are on this team right now. They're so versatile. Kasper could play wing or he could play center. Are we going to see the same thing with Danielson? Hopefully. He's probably going to come in and start on the wing and then eventually move to center to test him out. Mm-hmm. But the versatility is unbelievable because that's what you need for a team that you get injured rather than falling apart because you don't have a number 2C. You have someone who's maybe playing on the wing for the last month. Somebody gets injured, he can slot into the center and he can go about his business and carry the line, which is what Kasper's doing and has been doing since he's been moved into the center position when Kopp got injured. It took a while to kind of get going because we really felt the loss of Kopp, but I feel like you're seeing Kasper fit in and on that role. And I just want to shout out real quick, Kasper and Raymond looked unbelievable last night together. So there might be something there to continue to watch, folks, because that was pretty nice to see them play together. They looked good.
Yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed the lineup shake that Tom McClellan had, because typically we would see Larkin, Raymond. Typically it's been Marco Kasper. It had been Elmer Soderblom. Then we saw Michael Rasmussen. But all the lines ended up getting switched around, which it ended up working out in their favor against that Boston Bruins team, Carlo. And so that's exactly what this team needed. And like I said, I mean, the whole entire month of March, you couldn't win 2 games in the same week. And so Tom McClellan made changes, a few bit of changes, so that actually helped out this team. And so maybe that's what this team needed to help them secure more wins moving forward. But I do want to, I'm not going to share the screen, but I do want to transition because we did talk about what this team could look like in the future, regardless if they make the playoffs or not this season, is that looking at the Red Wings 25-26 opening night roster without, let's say, just entering the free, or I should say it like this. Looking at the Detroit Red Wings 25-26 roster heading into free agency, I'm just going to list off the names of players, right? So you have Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, Andrew Kopp, Michael Rasmussen, Marco Kasper, Lucas Raymond, Austin Watson, JT Comfort, Vladimir Tarasenko. Those 9, I think that you could put on here, right? And then obviously you have a lot of the young guys, and we'll touch on that here in a second here. But these are just players that we right now can say could make the NHL roster because they have a contract with this team right now. So no prospects currently right now.
Okay.
On the defensive end, Ben Sherratt, Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Justin Hall, Eric Gustafsson. Then on goaltending, Cam Talbot, Peter Mrazek. So Carlo, technically, the Red Wings have 7 spots that they can fill here. You touched on the markings of Steve Yzerman and the young players. I said this in our text messages too. I truly do not believe it is the craziest thing to believe that Steve does not go out, other than maybe upgrading the defense, because I do think that he needs to go out and get a top 4 defenseman.
That needs
he
to be
does not do
priority
anything else out of that, because he can fill up this team based on what he has currently and with the young guys that he has, because you could put Carter Mazur on there. You can put Nate Danielson in there.
Yep.
You could even put someone like Axel Sandin Pelita in there.
Yep, good.
You know what I mean? So there are a lot of choices you could choose from. So is that really too far of a reach to see to see Steve Yzerman? Yeah, to see Steve Yzerman actually do next to nothing once again in this free agency period, this offseason.
No, he has to do something. He cannot. Yeah, he has to do something for sure. I would be cool with a stud defenseman if he goes out and pays a guy some good money who's a good defenseman. You know, on what I had poking around lately is if you can go and get a guy like Neil Pionk. I love saying that guy's name. I have no idea if that's proper pronunciation. But if you can go and get a guy like that to really level set this defense, I would be super, super happy with that. Now that all depends. He's having an incredible year, I would say. He's actually been playing quite consistently for the past few years, which is even more promising. I have no idea if Winnipeg's going to do anything to re-sign him. I don't know what kind of money he's going to command.
Right.
But I'm fine with Steve Yzerman going and paying a guy like that, a consistent guy who is having consistently good years. Absolutely. For a top four. And then I'm fine with you not making too many moves for offense, because I feel like this team is offensive. Their defense is their biggest hole. And you carry that forward. You go into this offseason, you go and sign a big fish D-man, and that's all you do because you want to be conservative Steve Yzerman. Fine. Let's see what that can do. Let's see what that can do when we got a little bit of a better defensive, grouping and whatnot. But then the next offseason is where things get interesting. I put out a couple things about signing Mitch Marner, and I'm honestly looking at the offseason for 26-27, dude. That's the offseason you want to have some cash.
Yeah. Yeah, and just before you continue on with what you got, I just want to put it out there that for next offseason, the Detroit Red Wings, currently as it looks right now, the projected cap space that they will have is $23 million, a little bit and some change, right? For 26-27, as Carlo just mentioned, there's a lot bigger names on there, right? Especially on the forward end that you should absolutely be targeting and tossing out $20 million for someone like Connor McDavid if he makes it to free agency, right? The Red Wings then will have just under $56 million. You do have to re-sign players like Simon Edvinsson. That's your biggest one that you would have to re-sign, right? Or
7.77 by 7. Heard it here first, folks.
I'd be okay with an 8x8, but that's the understanding that, as it was for Larkin, you don't pay more than what your captain gets. And that's the same standard that Steve Yzerman's going to do with Seider, is that by no means, just because the cap's going up, am I going to pay you the same or more than what Moritz Seider is doing, because you're not doing this yet, Simon. So
right.
I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, Carlo, I mean, I know a lot of people are saying we absolutely should use our buyout spots and get the Halls, the Gustafsons. People even say the Tarasenkos. I'm someone who actually would prefer to do the Tarasenko and then maybe one of the defensemen. It sounds like you're probably more on the two defensemen route based on our text message exchange, which I'd be okay with too. But you have to add more at the end of the day before that. But I mean, looking at the cap situation too, I think I made it aware to you that if you can trade Cop or Comfort, preferably Comfort, and then buy out two of those players, that's almost $10 million that you're saving for this season and for next. Well, technically not for next season because all those players would be off the Bucks regardless. But is that something Davey would be interested to do for this team? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I want to start with the buyouts. Like the two buyouts that I'd be doing all day long is Gustafsson and Justin Hall. Two reasons. If you buy out Tarasenko, I'm not saying that's a bad call. I think that's absolutely fair to look at and potentially do. But now you're bringing up, are you rushing a forward? Are you rushing a young prospect into the lineup because you got to fill that hole? We don't know. We don't know, but you got to ask that question. The reason I bought out Gustafsson and Justin Hall, this is the second reason, is because 2 years on the books, $1.7 million for 2 years to buy those guys out. Nothing. That is next to nothing. And it frees up spots on defense to bring in a guy like Axel Sandin Pellikka, to go and sign a guy like Neil Pionk. Love that. And then what happens when? So let's hear me out. So let's say we do get Pionk and Axel Sandin Pellikka is in the lineup. You got Edvinsson and Seider. You got Sherratt and Pionk. I love saying this guy's last name. And then you got Aljo and ASP. Now, look at it further. The whole left side, left-hand shots. The whole right side, right-hand shots. You could do it. It could be done. You might even be able to go and throw Sam Bennett some money and see if he wants to come and play in our top six. With getting a guy like Neil on D. I don't know what Sam Bennett's going to commend money-wise, but I'd love a guy like Bennett on our team, man. Gritty, yeah, will certainly help the identity piece as well, if that continues on. But that's just kind of my early taking a look at it and kind of the things I've settled on, with kind of leaning into the position of passing on Mitch Marner, because I really think he's going to end up in Carolina.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the viewers, watchers, listeners think, if you would prefer to go after a forward or a defenseman. And we actually did make that into a poll on Twitter, Carlo. Yep. And we posed the question, and it's still technically not done yet, but the question was, if you were Steve Yzerman and you can only get one player to add next offseason, who would you bring onto the roster? And we asked, would you bring in a top 4 D-man or a top 6 forward? 213 votes so far, Carlo. There's 9 hours left. So if you are viewing this and there's still time on there, go ahead and vote. But
get it up.
I'm very sure. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But it's very far spread here. Out of the 213 votes, 72% of the people said they would rather see this team go out and get a top 4 D-man. So you're right there. And I'm right there with you. Yeah, I mean, not only just talking about who the forwards are available next season, but like I said, you have 9 forwards that you have on this roster that can be utilized on this team next season. Yeah, could you add a Mitch Marner on there? Absolutely. And you have more depth there. But because of how many young forward prospects we have, and based on, there are spots in the top 6 that you can fill with players in free agency, yes. But like I said, I can see a world where Steve absolutely does nothing and only goes out and adds a top 4 defenseman and says, our forwards really weren't our biggest issue this year. And if we could just upgrade the defense, and now that we have Mrazek for a full season and Cam Talbot, and maybe we see Sebastian Costa a couple times, this team can get
Todd. Don't forget Todd. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
Dude, I think we're going to see him go and get a big fish D-man, and I think you're right, dude. I think that might be it.
Now, does Steve do it by free agency or via trade to get that big fish that you just mentioned, right? And so I don't think we have to answer that today. I think we can kind of just leave that as a cliffhanger. And we didn't put down on the thumbnail that this is a part 1, but I do want to say that this is a part 1 because part 2, we're actually going to try and showcase to y'all what the rosters will look like, in our view, what they could look like and what they should, from our viewpoint, the 25, 26, and even the 26, 27 roster. And so maybe there's a third part in that too. But Carlo, yeah, it's very exciting, and maybe it is a little too early to jump on some of this stuff, but I think it's a good time to and just give folks, something else to focus on other than the standings and the situation that the Red Wings are in right now, because it's not only just about right now, it's about the future of this team and what we should be expecting and what to look forward to. And it's nothing but greatness based on the team names. And a lot of people always forget about Buchnevnikov to expect him in 26, 27 too. So could that be a top 6 guy that we expect? But maybe top 9 to start. So we'll just have to wait and see, Carlo. But
yep, we're good. It's a waiting game.
It is. I think we're good from here, buddy. Just one last thing for me on other news. Your boy John Tortorella was fired. Some say that he was actually he said that he walked out on his own, but I
think he fired himself.
Ratchet takes over as the interim. Thoughts on that, Carlo?
Torts fired himself, man. He had some pretty wild comments the night before. Clearly a disconnect there. I don't know if he just ran out of patience with whatever they're doing in Philly. I'm a big Torts guy, man. He is one of those coaches he has been recycled. He has gone through that carousel, but he will be back. He will be back. I hope it's obviously not going to be this season. So I'm really hoping to see Tortorella doing analytics for the playoffs. I'm really looking forward to that. Get him on the TNT team or whatever, because he's a blast. So I could totally see him doing that. I'll definitely be watching his segments if he does go down that path. But next season, I fully expect him to be employed, coaching a team. Don't know which one yet, but hey, you never know. He could have a reunion with the Rangers, man. I mean, if their season doesn't pan out and work out the way that they would want it to, you could see a Torts Rangers reunion. Who knows? But yeah, it is what it is, man. I think his time in Philly was up, and it looks like the lack of Tortorella has unlocked Michkov. I think he's been going on a bit of a run with Philly since Torts has been gone.
I guess I have two questions for you. Is there ever going to be an opportunity where John Tortorella ends up coaching for every team in the NHL? So could you ever see him be a Red Wings coach? And then the second question is that now John Tortorella's specialty is to just now coach teams, because that's kind of been his background, right? It's not coaching teams that are in long cup run situations. He's now coaching teams that are retooling/rebuilding. Is that now his MO as a coach moving forward in the league?
Yeah, he might have been typecasted as kind of a rebuilding, retooling type of coach, and demanding, young players or inexperienced players on how to play the game properly. He very well could be typecasted in that, man. Only he could tell you that, because I doubt it. Like he probably wants to win just as much as anybody else does, but behind the scenes, is there a typecast? There very well could be, dude. That's a really good point. I don't think he's going to come to Detroit. No, I don't think so.
Just based on your first answer, it doesn't sound like that's ever going to be possible, because we will be on long cup runs for a long time, right?
Yeah. I think the windows just didn't line up for him to come to Detroit, but every team in the league or no, I don't think he would want to do that, dude. Can you imagine the amount of work and how, like, he's a human being, dude. He's like, can you imagine bouncing around 32 teams? No chance, man. No chance. He'd retire.
Cool. No, I feel like that would be a pretty cool lifestyle. I don't know. Let us know what you think down below, if you would be an NHL coach where you could coach every 32 teams in the league.
You'd have some ammo on every single team. So, strategically, would the NHL even let you do that? Because, like, think about it, right? You could be like insider trading based off of what you know about each organization because you've coached them. I don't know. I wonder if the league would even let something like that happen.
You would have to coach every team, just 1 year contracts every single year. Like, all right, this year I'm going to coach the Flyers. Next year I'm going to coach the Habs. And then I think in 2036, I'll coach the Detroit Red Wings when they're prime for their cup run.
Yeah.
Their third cup run. Their third.
Their third. Yeah. I wonder if the league would let something like that happen. That is a very interesting question. That's kind of funny.
I mean, you said it best. It's a carousel. That's exactly what it is. The old culture.
Very true.
Carousel. Very true. So, all right, Carlo, I think we can wrap up this really good episode. Final thoughts, buddy. Want to go ahead and lay it out there?
Final thoughts. Keep the identity rolling. Keep coming out swinging, and do not be bullied, man. Because if you're not the bully, you're going to be bullied. And I'm not saying that to promote bullying, folks. That is not what we're here to do. I'm actually very much against that. But in the game of hockey, when you got to go dictate play, go and do it. Don't let the other team come out swinging first. Prime example to that, Ottawa versus Detroit this past week versus Boston and Detroit this week. I would much rather the Detroit versus Boston start and total outcome. Setting that tone was exactly what they needed to do. They need to do that every single game from here on out to give themselves a fighting chance. So my final thoughts, the identity lives on. Let's grow it. Let's get it bigger. Let's get it better. And let's see what we can do in the month of April, man. It's going to be a big month.
Yeah, my final thoughts are just slightly copy and pasting Carlo, but then to add on to that, I want to see Austin Watson actually. I think moving forward, Austin Watson should be getting in fights every single game. I think that gave the boys energy, gave them the full fuel, exactly what they needed to do. I think it also sent a message to Boston, like, wow, this team really isn't messing around. But Boston also knows it's not only them, there was the Detroit Red Wings that are fighting for that wild card spot, right? And so even though the Red Wings lost to the Sens, I thought that they held their own, right? They at least came back, but like you said, you got to be more consistent. And hopefully this Boston Bruins game gave them that consistency to move along these next 9 games and get the wins. Hopefully they go 7-2. I would like to see that. But Carlo and to us, it sounds like, based on what we're saying, that this team does have a chance to make the playoffs. I know that it only says, based on Money Puck, that it's 4% chance, but the Red Wings are there, and it very well could come down to the last game of the season. That's why I went to the Sens game, because I was like, hey, it's a good game. It's coming down to the wire, and so we're just going to have to wait and see. And so from here, Carlo, I think that's all I got to say to finish out this episode. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and say thank you once again to those finishing up this episode with us. If you did make it to the tail end, let us know down in the comments. You can comment on the episodes on Spotify. If you did not know that, you know now if you made it to the tail end here. And then, as always, you can follow us on social medias, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button on there as well. Carlo, we want them to comment as much as possible to communicate with us. We love communicating with you guys, creating dialogue and just having good banter. And from there, Carlo, I think we can go ahead and sign off. And until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See you.
See you guys.